Hey everybody, welcome to episode 007 of Incremental Progress. Super glad to have you with us today. We're talking about today's topic, regaining or gaining command of your business. Some of you might not know what that is, but what's important here is that the word command also appears in commander. It's so funny. Okay, so we have, it's a pun. It is a pun. So hey, listen guys, we have a jam-packed show for you today. We have a lesson plan. I've got lots of content to cover with you, and today's episode is super practical. This is going to be like tactile, CEO, business owner thinking. This is gonna move the needle for you in terms of how you think through your organizational structure, how you define accountability and responsibility in your business, how you can align your organizational chart with the correct systems and concepts that are going to enable you to be clear in your communication, your delegation, and your sense of accountability and responsibility in your own life. And so I'm super excited to have you here because I think business owners just in general do not spend enough time getting into the nitty-gritty and the specificities of their own mind. I'd love to just share with you guys that your ability to produce results in the world depends on your ability to see clearly those results in your mind. And see clearly is not parable. To see clearly means you've seen it, you've witnessed it, you've thought it through, you've followed that journey, you've taken the plan, you've sussed it out in your mind, you've niffled into all the different corners, you've discovered the challenges, the hidden roadblocks, the incongruencies of language and sense of purpose, you've aligned it with your dreams and your goals and your vision, and then you step out into the world and act confidently because that shit makes sense. Today, we're talking about command. Command is that. It just means you actually have certainty, presence, and enthusiasm while you're running your business. You're able to sense in on what's happening. You know what's going on. You're accurate and timely in your ability to consume, digest, and respond, etc. I'm excited about this topic also because I love James Bond. We're gonna have some fun today, but it's mostly work, just a little bit of play. Mostly work. Before we dive into it, let me introduce myself. My name is Alexander Ford. I'm the CEO and president of Measurable Genius. We are a Calgary-based strategic consulting firm, marketing agency, and IT services provider. I've been doing this my whole life, literally since I was 10 or 12. I worked for my dad at Shoppers Drug Mart when I was 4 or 5. I love to work. All of you are trying to escape working. I'm trying to find out how to keep working when everyone in my life is trying to tell me to go be social and like take holidays and crap. And I'm just like, look, I have important stuff to do. I really want to get it done. And the irony is that that stuff that I'm really focused on getting done is infinite because it's all about helping you get your shit done in your business, right? So I've equipped myself with a mission that is ever sustainable. I don't know if that means anything to you guys. It basically means I've spent my whole life solving problems, and I've been witness and I've had the opportunity to participate in solving problems across a number of different industries, across a spectrum of business sizes, and we've had the opportunity to put our hands on just about every segment of the business life cycle and every piece of technology that a business can use in order to solve problems, equip employees, standardize processes, etc. We've really spent a lot of time digging into all that stuff. So this education I'm going to deliver to you today comes from that acumen of wisdom. It comes from our practical hands-on experience working with business owners and entrepreneurs running real employee and product-based businesses here in Calgary for reasonably the last decade or so. Okay? So that's who I am. That's why I'm here. I want to provoke some pain points. I want to step into the land of whatever hell you're currently experiencing. I want to try to provoke some examples so that you can see in your mind what challenges you might be facing that you haven't related to the concept of command, okay? So maybe you've done some business planning, but no matter how hard you plan, no matter what it is you try to communicate to your team, you can't get them all on the same page, and you feel like you're riding a train basically running off the rails. Maybe your team is driving you a little bit crazy. What I know for sure
You just told me the straight truth. I had this whole thing planned out.
What I know for sure is that you are grappling with ineffective management. Okay, so that moment where you jump out the building into that soft, life-preserving surface, that's me. I'm that surface, okay? And you need to take that leap. You need to take that leap of faith and just roll with me here, because that's all the puns I have, and we're getting serious now, okay? Thank you for that.
Ease people into it.
It was good. You know what? The whole thing about this content platform is that it has to be entertaining. So hopefully we're achieving that for you guys. Hit us up in the comments, all right? Command shows up in a lot of different ways. It does show up in those ways legitimately, but here's some feelings you're probably having if you don't have command of your business. You show up to work and you feel like something's wrong, or you know for sure something's wrong, but you don't know what and you don't want to look. You have a sense that your team is doing a bunch of work, but you don't necessarily know what that work is, but you're afraid to stop them from doing it to find out. You have a whole bunch of work that you're stuck with that you don't know how to get off your plate without dealing with a bunch of emotional drama, problem solving, convincing, etc., coercing. You have to try to get them to receive those delegations as human beings, as opposed to employees who are being allocated a prescribed process accountability or responsibility, okay? More functionally, it might look like you don't know on a day-by-day basis how to keep everything together, and so you circle the business slowly, or you cherry pick the areas of the business that you want to keep together, and you consciously know you're sacrificing loose ends, you're giving up on things, you're letting things burn down, but you're not specific and articulate about what those things are, so you don't have confidence and certainty about it, okay? You might not have command of your business if you know what the inputs and outputs are, or if you don't know what the inputs and outputs are of each of the different major components in the business that are necessary to scale up, which are necessary to effectively take a dollar, you sell a dollar, or you market a dollar's worth of value. You have to take that dollar all the way through the pipeline to the end of the business where that dollar is collected. Maybe you don't have clear indicators of health across each of those departments or each of those critical business areas. So what ends up happening is you just circle around the business trying to figure things out. Another way you know you don't have command of your business is that your customers make you aware of problems before you become aware of them. Or you lose customers to competitors before you know you're at risk of losing them. Or your employees leave and you're surprised by the fact that they're leaving. Really, if you're surprised in your business, you don't have command of something. You don't have a system that alerts you, so the universe alerts you. That becomes the system. The challenge with certainty is if you don't have it, it permeates throughout your entire life, right? When you don't have an absolutely clear certainty, you're uncertain, and it's binary. You can have spectrums of uncertainty, but you're either certain or not certain, and if you're just a little bit uncertain, the entire model can't be trusted. I've been running an IT company my whole life. What I have found in delivering services to my clients that way is I need to be able to create indicators in the business that are simply a few steps ahead of the indicator that puts the business at risk. Building a business that's in command is not about mitigating 100% of your risk or mitigating the possibility of 100% of your challenges occurring. Having command of your business means prioritizing your resources so that you're netting out the greatest return. It means putting your resources to work so that they're most effectively producing that return on an ongoing basis, and hedging your risks to mitigate downtime, to mitigate loss of revenue, to mitigate gaps in production, and then to address and to become aware and to remediate challenges much earlier in the process than later for any given challenge. There's a book called The Fifth Discipline, The Art and Practice of the Learning Organization by Peter Senge. It's a book about systems. It's a book that will help you to really understand why the world does weird shit when you look at it in a linear way. This book gives you insight into systems thinking, which is a leap. It was a leap for me in terms of my comprehension and understanding the complexities of how business systems and business inputs and outputs relate to one another. In the book, they explore a classical experiment that's reproduced in schools and universities around the world, which is meant to help people understand the compounding, incrementally expanding, and exponentially growing issues that can occur when you layer independent systems on top of one another and you reduce communication or you put up boundaries of communication between them. The example they use to run this exercise is they set up a 3-layer system where there's a liquor store retailer, a distribution business, and a brewing producer, whatever they're called. And you walk through on a turn-by-turn basis the impact of what happens when there's a shortfall or a series of shortfalls in production and the retailer and the wholesaler don't know why, and how each of the reactions at each turn by each party can significantly damage the entire ecosystem because they essentially fail to communicate and see beyond themselves. They fail to see how the systems they're governed by manage them from without. They do not rise above the systems that are governing them, and so therefore they are governed. I don't want to tell you what happens. If you just YouTube this or Google this or buy the book, you should just read the book. It'll blow your mind. The reason I brought this up was because when you've got many systems that are interrelated and you only look at one of them at a time and you don't rise above them, you're destined to essentially compound incremental issues into significantly damaging problems inside the ecosystem of your business. And the same applies when you look at your business as a system without looking at the economy it participates in, meaning your upstream and downstream systems, your customers below you, your vendors, distributors above. Let's jump into what you can do, practically speaking, to identify your areas of command in the business and begin to take incremental steps towards being in command of your business by building recurring feedback loops and understanding the difference between accountability and responsibility on an org chart. Here's what happens. You build a strategic plan for your business, or you have a long-term goal of some kind, consciously or unconsciously. Over time, for many of you, those plans are ineffective, or you feel that pursuing your dreams or that the fulfillment of your dreams perhaps has become futile. You don't break through systemic issues. You end up locked in a certain strata, or you can't break through a glass ceiling because essentially the systems in your business aren't playing nice with one another. We did a live stream interview talk show with my mentor, Dr. John DeMartini. One of the concepts that we discussed was the concept of incremental progress and how effective command and management can make a significant impact on the long-term growth of a business. And one of the things that we discussed is the delusion that many business owners have, which is that we're all sort of addicted to this concept of that one big thing that's gonna move the needle forward in our company. We're so sure we understand the problem. We're so sure that there's clearly a villain. We're so sure that there's probably just this one arbitrary thing that we can point at in our world and say, that's the villain, that's the thing that's causing me my pain and my suffering, that's the opportunity. I just know that if I go do this one fucking big thing, my whole life will change. Except it never is that big thing, and you fucking know that too, and I know it. And yet, we all addict to it anyway because we're all these crazy animals. You know, we're just crazy animals trying to go out into the world and get our food and hunt our prey and make sure we have the materials we need to survive. And so we have this mindedness to us that addicts to this concept of relief, of gratification, of support, of being lovingly cared for and held, and you know, how we're supposed to be in this warm embrace by the universe, and if we just believe in our dreams, it'll all come true. And the reality is that that's crap. It's total fucking crap. You can create in your life whatever you know how to manage. You can create anything you like in life as long as you learn to fucking manage the materials and resources it's going to take in order to bring those dreams to life. And if you don't have those dreams, if you have not brought your dreams to life, then you don't know how to fucking manage them. Period. Management is a fancy word for knowing how to create what you want in life. It's not fun, because management is tied to accountability. Now, I know I say accountability, and we've got movies and TV shows and culture and communication that over time has taken these two very different words, accountability and responsibility, and mashed them all together. So I'm saying accountability, and I mean something very specific by that. To hold something in account is to account for value. Value must be owned. There's nothing of value that is not owned. And you know you own something if you become accountable to it. You can be responsible for something and not accountable. For example, You could have a home or an office space, and I own this office space, and I could make someone responsible for cleaning it. But if they don't clean it good enough, they don't determine that, I do. They don't bring that into account, I do. The owner brings into account the summation of their assets and their value and holds the environment, the life, the circumstance, the team, those responsible to that standard set through that accounting. There's just this generalized implication of a higher order with accountability. That individual who is in account asks those who are responsible to answer the questions necessary to bring the statement into order. Very simple principles, but I just want to distill your entire life experience down to this. If you want something in life, you first must have a vision. The variables in that vision, the detail and the specificity that you choose to articulate, is to be in account of the content of that experience. So let's say you'd like to have a future in which you have more money than you do now. Let's account for what that experience may look like. It may look like X amount of dollars in the bank account. It may look like X amount of profit generated by a business. It might mean X amount of free cash flow. It might mean X amount of debt. Those variables might lead to the expectation of certain life experiences. It might mean certain other goals become achievable. It might mean that certain other results and experiences come to bear in the future condition where those variables can be accounted for by their owner. As a business owner, let's hard left turn back into business. You are the epitome of an individual who is in account of a greater future than the future that exists today. And if you are in ownership of that vision, then you have an accountability to the detail of that vision. And to the degree that you are accountable to the detail in that vision, both supporting and challenging, you have the capacity then to manage those material resources that you can account for towards producing that end in mind. You cannot put resources to work you haven't identified, inventoried, and have access to. You cannot put material resources of any kind to work unless you are in ownership of them, you can account for them, and you have a plan and a strategy to put them to work in a certain order of operations through time to produce a desired outcome that you can see clearly and likely communicate to others. Your plan or plans in life, your goal or goals in life, your future vision or visions in life have not come true because you haven't stepped fully into being accountable for them. And that looks like giving your power away to others. It looks like being a victim to your circumstance or to your environment. It looks like blaming other people. It looks like literally identifying resources out there in the world who have prevented you from having what you want, as opposed to recognizing the resources you have already that you haven't put to work getting what you do want. Does that make sense? Because so many business owners are out there in the world right now, so many individuals for that matter, are perfectly happy to identify and to be an account of other people's resources. Well, how convenient is that? You don't actually fucking own them, so yeah, go ahead and pretend you own them. How's that going? It's fucking ludicrous. It's so ridiculous. People are like, oh, I can't fucking evaluate and collect and assemble resources in my own life. As Jordan Peterson says, I can't even keep my closet organized and my room is a fucking mess, but I'm gonna go out into the world and assume ownership of other people's shit. I'm gonna martyr myself on being accountable to them. I'm gonna claim victimhood to them. I'm gonna give all my power to them. And this whole time, I'm gonna have to ignore everything I do have and be an ungrateful fucking douchebag in order to justify that entire position. We're all doing that. I do this. I love putting on a show, you know? I do this. I probably wouldn't be so upset about it if I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's a fucking trick, you guys. You need to actually just check. How much energy do I spend being in account of other people's assets and resources versus how much time do I spend focusing on exploring, inventorying, managing, putting to work my own material assets and resources? Let's jump into the clip that we've prepared for today. I had the opportunity to explore this with one of our clients at one of my strategic meetings. I think that we articulate it really, really well in this clip, how this relates to an org chart and having accountability and responsibility distributed among your team, and how you can look at this so that you can more effectively manage the resources you already have and put them to work more effectively. So let's run that clip and we'll come back. So management, it necessitates a fixed lap. So I just want to paint a very clear picture. Management is the art of taking everything in a box and putting it in an order. You're not done management until you've looked at everything in the box. The purpose of management is simply to identify and prioritize, which will then automatically lead to action. You have departments on your org chart where ultimately any of these positions are technically departmental managers who are accountable for subordinate positions. For each of these boxes, this one being sales, you must have a recurring management loop happening. And if you don't, those whole departments will run away into entropy. Look at it this way. If there's no one below you, you can only be responsible. And the person above you is 100% accountable. So these people are literally accountable to jack fuck all. No accountability, all responsibility. This layer is partially responsible, partially accountable, because they have people below and above. And then in theory, the CEO is purely accountable. So management is the lap that an accountable party makes in order to organize their resources under ownership and management, so that those who are responsible for those resources can act on them efficiently and effectively to get the job done. I will never be able to do a lap as a CEO until I've got a lap happening on every box in middle management. I'm not the CEO of my company until I have a lap for every box in management. Period, end of story, in my psychology. I am not running a fucking company until I can say with certainty and honesty to you, I'm managing and I have every department under command. Okay, this is an org chart, simplified. It's a 3-layer org chart. We do this because we want to have a clear strata. People up here, call them executives. These middle managers, this is team members. Okay, so it's just a very clear concept for how you can organize your business and how you can structure a business based on procedural inventory and an association of those processes to roles, as opposed to creating titles for the sake of pleasuring individuals' egos, right? We want to avoid that. Let's say you have a CEO, you have a sales manager, and you have a sales team member. This sales team member is responsible for a series of processes, tasks, KPIs, etc. in the business. The person who can hold that individual accountable is their manager. So this person reports directly to their manager. Their manager is accountable for them. The reporting structure is built on the principle of accountability. They are responsible for completing all of the tasks, processes, and duties they've been assigned, or producing the desired results-oriented outcomes that they've agreed to as part of their hiring decision. Okay, every individual has a unique negotiated relationship with your business. In my opinion, they should be asked to perform inventories of tasks associated to roles, and they may appear in one or many roles on the org chart, so therefore they may be responsible for many processes across a spectrum of roles, all of which have been essentially negotiated into a single compensation relationship. That's a fair expectation. People need to learn to be adaptable and to be able to take on duties that are outside of these pretty little boxes called roles, but can be summarized as a process inventory. These individuals are technically accountable to nothing. You heard me say in that video, they're accountable to nothing. There's no one below them. There's nothing to be accountable for. These managers, however, have split duties, which is why management, middle management, in fact, is one of the most challenging positions you can take on in a business, particularly as a business owner. The reason you became a business owner is because you have a predominant behavioral expression of accountability over responsibility. You're great at owning things, you're great at starting things, you're great at being in a decision-making position, but oftentimes when you are the one asked to be responsible, even if that question comes from yourself, you burn, you fail. And that's your nature. You can't be in ownership of a great number of resources and also remain responsible for those same resources. At scale, that's functionally impossible. And so give yourself permission to recognize this. As the CEO, your primary duty in the business is to be accountable, not responsible. The primary duty of your team members are to be responsible, not accountable. And the primary duties of your middle managers is to help you bridge that gap. The middle management team is responsible and they report to the CEO, who is accountable. And they are accountable to the team members to whom they are responsible. And these individuals then therefore have to get really good at playing in two separate worlds. And the best way to do that is with your planner. The best way to do that is in your calendar. So I'm gonna make a recommendation right now that I hope is gonna help you make an incremental change in your life and in your behavior this week that you can move your business forward with. And that one change is this. Itemize the functional areas of your business that legitimately require management. Functionally define the areas of accountability. This is as simple as marketing, sales, I'm gonna say fulfillment. You know, I don't know what you do. Maybe you're a plumber. So this is the plumbing division. Maybe you're an electrician. So this is the electrician division. This is the area where you actually do what your business does. Let's say financial, let's say operations, let's say technology. You've got these things going on in your business. Recognize that if you do not have an explicitly hired and named middle manager to whom these people below them report, that you still have to have a name in these boxes on the org chart. If you're less than 20 people as a business owner, your name, because of this accountability fuck up, this reason that is explicitly the most challenging, this whole you have to be able to manage accountability versus responsibility equation, this one proxy makes these positions more complicated than the CEO position or any team member position. Real managers deserve a lot of credit because keeping these psychologies separate in the mind is very, very hard. And I'm gonna walk you through that now. Let's say I'm accountable as the sales manager and I'm also accountable as the account manager, let's say. Alexander Ford is the account manager and he is the sales manager. That means I essentially have responsibilities and accountabilities. Here's what this looks like. 1, we've already defined these positions. 2, take a position and identify what specific key indicators, what specific quality questions, what specific results occur that require measurement that demonstrate to you that that department or that management area or that functional area in your business is accountable or not accountable to the results you want. So that can look like a series of KPIs. In our case, it means each opportunity has been organized according to our standards for what a healthy opportunity looks like. So that means each opportunity has a forecasted value, they have a clear subject line, they have a next scheduled activity, they have an assigned internal and external representative, we have an associated quote in the system. When each opportunity has check marks next to each of these things and every opportunity has that, then there's a check mark. That's one of the ways I know my sales system is healthy. If I don't know, if I haven't seen recently every opportunity in the sales system and I can check this off, then I have insecurity because I'm wondering, has an opportunity been missed? Has it fallen behind? Have opportunities had the things be done that need to be done? I don't know if this isn't there. So to manage this department is to simply engage in the ritual of bringing all of this to current, not actually doing the work of any one opportunity, simply the act of bringing each opportunity into what I'm going to call compliance. I'm going to guess, because I haven't actually looked this up before this broadcast, that compliance has an etymologically similar root to accounting. Let's find out. So to fulfill the requirements, and those requirements were defined, so let's look up requirements. That which must be accomplished or a necessary condition, which is to bring this into account, which is to be in accountability. I'm requisitioning resources because I fucking did an accounting and I've realized I'm short some sales opportunities. Now, you've done your accounting, they issue their requisitions. That essentially means they're sending out the marching orders. Marching orders in a business equals priorities. I'm telling you right now, I have like 100 opportunities in the system. A fucking 100 opportunities. I cannot do 100 opportunities today. I'm not going to. Even if I could, I wouldn't. That's crazy. If I sold 100 opportunities tomorrow, we're not gonna get them done. That'd be ridiculous. However, I can tell you which are the most 5 important opportunities because I have scheduled times in my calendar that I perform this function called making sure they're in order of priority. And by making them in order of priority, what am I doing? I'm identifying the opportunities of highest yield, highest value, highest amount of fun, highest amount that I like my customers, how excited and enthusiastic I am to do the project, and most importantly, which ones I'm capable of doing. And then I go close those 5, and those 5 move the needle in my company the most. So it doesn't matter that I didn't do 95. It really, really matters that I did those 5 though. And if I hadn't done this right here, if I hadn't brought them into order, I'd be doing random crap. Here's how it works. You can essentially recognize all your departments, determine what a lap will look like in each department. What I just described there is what I call a lap. So have you done your laps today? And then you're making decisions based on an inventory of data, based on real material resources, and not a bunch of crap and drama. And at the very least, if all you do is incrementally every day put your resources to work just a little bit better, I can guarantee you that after enough time passes, you will be exponentially more efficient, productive, capable, and profitable. It's impossible not to be. You can't incrementally focus on your highest priorities over time without that automatically compounding into exponentially growing results. Exponential punctuated growth occurs when you invest incrementally over time into progress across many areas of the business so that you can maximize your return over the long term. This is about long term, okay? There's a Japanese word for this called kaizen. Kaizen means to literally work on everything just because, to make it all better incrementally, and when you do, crazy shit happens when it all comes together. Okay? And there's evolutionary and biological sort of data to support this. I believe that this is a principle in the universe. Those of you who are chasing short-term fixes and who don't want to investigate specifically into your own behavior, you'll fail. You'll just fail. So that'll suck. You should focus on the long term, not focus on the short term. That's it. If you're stuck in short-term thinking, you won't think to incrementally improve because no incremental improvement will be good enough when you compare it to whatever long-term fantasy you've got. I can't convince you to take a tiny step if you're sold on a big step and that big step being the only option. I just can't. I can't sell you. Warren found this on the internet yesterday to support what we're talking about today. Accountability is breaking down into a few different things. An obligation. So somewhere this business, which is essentially a cone, someone up here issued an obligation. There's a promise made. So that comes down through the manager. There's an obligation to fulfill a service. There's an action that must be done to fulfill that service by the party responsible, and a specified other who's able to verify that it's done. That's this person here. So this person could be accountable and responsible. They could do the motor action. They could be accountable to make sure it's done, and they could be aware of the obligation that it needs to be done. But they're not really accountable to themselves. They can only try to be, because ultimately this person's going to be the one that finds out if it's not. Those three components come together. So we apply this religiously. We have turned our whole company into incremental progress machines. Like each of us here has a focus on incremental progress. We apply incremental progress to every single project, every single initiative, every single goal, every single customer. At every opportunity, we are mantra-ing the value that we embody incremental progress. We do everything we can to do so with our clients and to help them. We've done this with a couple customers. One of note specifically is we helped Hearth & Home simplify their org chart and apply these layers of accountability and this concept of Kaizen to their business. It's astronomically improving how they operate. They're growing and scaling because of it. In my own business, I have applied this discipline to all of our departments, all of our projects, like I said, but I've been able to generate really, really significant results in a couple departments in particular. Our support department has received a religious amount of attention from me over the last 12 years. Honestly, it's performing better than it ever has. Just totally convinced of this. You can't really make progress unless you know your priorities. You can't really know how to fulfill your priorities if you don't know where you are right now. You need to have an awareness and an inventory and management of your precious resources, and you need to be putting those resources to work in order to fulfill your goals. Otherwise, you're just admitting to the universe that you've acquired resources that you probably shouldn't have, and they'll inevitably be taken away from you. I really believe that. He who does not manage his resources wisely loses his resources under management. You know? Another way to say that is maybe more affirmative, which is he who manages his resources wisely accumulates more resources to manage. So, what resources do you have? Are you managing them effectively? And are you managing your business in a way that all of that comes together into essentially an executive or a CEO position of command? And maybe if you had that, you yourself could be called Commander Bond.
Aha, you brought it back.
Boom. So here's the solution. If you have clear layers of accountability, your organization will not drift. You will stay on focus. You will react to problems before your customers tell you about them. You'll increase your quality of service. You'll eliminate baggage. You'll eliminate problems before they become exponentially compounding issues because you'll catch them. I remember, I brought up the fifth discipline at the beginning because there's a lesson in that book I want to talk about, which is this: lily pads on ponds. It's a great metaphor. Lily pads on ponds. Your business is like this, and areas that are not under command exhibit this symptom. If you leave your garden untended, it will grow weeds. Lily pads are the weed of the pond. They like suffocate everything because they like occupy all the surface area, but they grow exponentially. So here's what happens. You leave your lily pond unkept. This is what happens in a what are they fucking called? Lily pad issue. Okay? This is what happens. By the time you can see this many lily pads, you're fucked because the next amount you're gonna have is this. And the next amount you're gonna have is this, and then your whole pond will be covered. It goes from this to this in a day, and it goes from that to covering your pond in a day. But it took 2 or 3 weeks to get to here. That's what I'm trying to say. By the time you notice the problem, the lily pads will be on track to take over the pond. If you wait until you can see the problem, obviously, you're too late. If you're waiting for it to become obvious, you're waiting too long. You can't wait in your business. You need to be religious about maintaining command, because unless you want to spend your whole life cleaning lily pads out of the pond, you got to stop it before it covers the entire thing. The amount of work it takes to clear half the pond is outrageous compared to how much it would take to pluck 1 or 2 lily pads out. 1 or 2 lily pads is 10 minutes of work. An entire pot of lily pads means you should just give up your pond. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I am on a mission to become in command. Ever greater degrees of command. There's really no end to this, right? Beyond this business, there may be another, and beyond this business is my life and my future and my legacy and everything else. I want to be in command of my resources because I want to put my resources to good use so that I can fulfill the mission that I have to help you find your story, acquire new leads, and scale your business. I want to help you be in command of the resources that you accumulated at one time because you believed in your dream, okay? And I believe in that dream too. But you need to become more disciplined, you need to become more focused, and you absolutely must become more refined in your clarity of vision. And you must be willing to step into accountability for that vision and that future you say you want. Because as soon as you do, as soon as you commit to managing the resources available to you now, and you let go of the fantasies and the idealism that you're somehow gonna make it big with a one-time fix or a short-term plan, or you might win the lottery. If you give up on that and you focus on long-term vision and you invest in incremental progress, you're guaranteed to experience punctuated growth at unpredictable moments in time. But here's what I know for sure. It's impossible for you not to focus on your priorities and manage your priorities wisely and not have the automatic attraction of greater and more meaningful resources for you to manage and to put to work towards whatever is meaningful and important to you. So I hope Jesus, holy God. It's just one of those days. Oh, okay, one more time. I hope that you found something in today's episode that is going to help you make an incremental step forward in your life and in your business so that you can experience Kaizen in your life this week. As always, come back next Wednesday at 11:45 Mountain Standard Time. We're going to cover another topic that we hope will help you take an incremental step forward in your life and in your business so that you can move forward, fulfill your mission, help more people, grow that company, build the business of your dreams, or just simply find the opportunity to spend more time with your family or do something else that's meaningful with your life. So until next week, thank you for watching. If there was something in this video that you found particularly impactful or meaningful, would you please do me the favor of scrolling to that moment in this video and making a comment so that we can use that information to create higher quality content for you in the future. Till next week, my name's Alexander. I'm the CEO and president of Measurable Genius. We look forward to working with you sometime soon.